Preparing to live stream. Andrea is texting us, Craig, probably wondering where we are.
Fantastic. We're prepping, Andrea. I think we're live streaming. Are we live, Josh? Are we on Facebook?
Yeah, we're there.
Let's rock and roll. All right, everybody. Well, we are excited for this month's edition. It is May. Pandemic seems to be simmering down, and we've got an amazing guest here, Mr. Sean Goerss from Minneapolis. We had an opportunity when we're both at previous brokerages to work together for some time, and it's somebody that we greatly admire. We've got to spend some more time recently with him here at RCC Coaching. So, Sean, thanks for being our icon interview for May 2021.
Hey, Craig and Josh. Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And our amazing co-host, Mr. Josh Cooley.
Hey. That's enough about me.
Yeah, let's talk about Sean. So, Sean, just so that for the folks that don't know you, kind of who are you? What's your background? Do you have children? Like, what makes Sean Sean?
Sure. Yep. I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I've got 4 kids and a wife and a dog. And most of my background is in real estate and business. So in our last year there in real estate, we did 464 units, 171 million in volume on 4.8 million GCI, which other businesses would call revenue. So that was our gross commission income. And yeah, just, having fun, rocking and rolling it. I love to kind of sums me up. I love to help people on their journey. And I take a very holistic, long view approach to relationships with clients and with our agents and employees. So that's me in a nutshell.
Well, yeah, Sean in a nutshell is apparently doing pretty well, because if I heard that correctly, you did nearly 5 million in revenue last year.
Yep. Yeah. And then what we did is we actually transitioned. I merged that company. We were the first franchised real estate team in the United States. So I took the team concept and I franchised that and was selling team franchises. And then we merged all of that into a brokerage at one point. So now that brokerage constitutes north of 20 teams. We've got probably at the moment around 360 agents in that brokerage in most of the major US states, and growing and expanding that. We've now got partners in Mexico, India, and we're talking to some people in Israel. So that's where my business kind of progressed to the next level. It's been a fun journey.
It's incredible. So you were the first and potentially the only, or certainly the first to franchise, right? We go out, it's like, I'm in Portland. If I want to have a team in Eugene, we call that expansion in kind of old school. And your expansion was actually franchising that business. Can you give us a quick high level breakdown of what that means or what that would look like?
Yeah, essentially what I learned when we were doing expansion is really what people wanted was a business in a box. And so to a certain extent in that model that we were operating at, where we had brokers in each city, maybe we'd have 15 or 20 brokerages with our brand in a state, is that we had people coming at us asking us, all of your systems, all of your tools, all of your leverage, marketing, admin, all those things. Could you help us with that? Tech, all that kind of stuff. So we essentially put that into a box and started selling it. And so I literally went through the process of franchising, just like you hear, Keller Williams is a franchise, Remax is a franchise. That's what I did, only at the team level. So we were not the broker. We were just helping business owners who wanted to go say from a career in real estate, or sometimes they were even in a different industry, and enter into the real estate market as a business owner, and owning the business. Sometimes they would be the sales manager. Sometimes they would hire a sales manager out of the gate. And so with franchising and a lot of business partnerships, that can be a very lucrative partnership, because we have all the things turnkey ready to go. They come in with their capital and their leadership, and it's a good mixture, and it worked out well.
Congratulations. I love their opening with skin in the game. And also on the topic of you, Sean, you've been a professional paid real estate coach for a number of years.
Yep. Yeah, went through the Keller Williams coaching system called MAPS. Some of my previous personal coaches have been Tony DeCello, Abe Shreve. A lot of people in the real estate industry will recognize some of these names. I was in Gary Keller's mastermind group. Our organization had been with Keller Williams. for a number of years. So yeah, I think I've been coaching now 6 or 7 years, and always learning and growing. That was the reason they asked me to become a coach. And my velvet rope was typically, I worked with all, spectrum of agents, but typically teams doing north of 50 million in volume, or about, 1.3, 1.5 million GCI or higher. And because there's just different set of, challenges and growth that needs to occur at that level. So that was a lot of the teams that I was coaching.
When you turned coaching into this model of you franchise coaching in a way. I mean, you're teaching, you're consulting. There's probably some coaching going there, but I'm still wrapping my head around this from our call on Thursday when you were telling us about this. Like, it's such a cool hybrid model. So I just want to make sure I understand.
We had layers there. We not only had training and coaching for the agents, we had training and coaching right for the business owners and the sales managers. So we were incorporating really 3 different levels of coaching, training, support. We had playbooks for everything, standards of procedure for everything, checklists for everything. And then, we developed entire systems. We had a talent performance system. We had a talent attraction system. And it was fun. It was fun to deal with all different levels of business within that.
Yeah. So if I, take my team and join your franchise, all of these systems come with you.
Right. Yeah. Just like if you were to buy a McDonald's or a Wendy's or whatever, right? They've got highly developed systems that have iterated, 20 times. And so the whole idea of any business relationship typically is you could do what you want to do, and I could do what I want to do, or we could partner up, shorten each other's learning curves, and produce more together than either one of us could alone. And that was the nature of our franchise relationship. You're often in those relationships, Josh, you're buying the other people's mistakes, right? All the mistakes, and we've had a lot of them. We continue to make a lot of them. You really want to make a lot of mistakes and go into franchising, because now you're selling, a high ticket item at 150,000 plus, which is a whole different. I had a franchise coach. I had to hire a franchise coach and a franchise consultant to teach me that level of sales and alignment to, find somebody who can buy a business for at least 150 grand and normally at least 300,000 in net worth and stuff. So yeah, so that's what you're buying in a partnership like that.
It's a different way of thinking, and it's just thinking bigger. At the end of the day, it's expanding what many of us are doing with expanding our business out, but it's the fact that you're charging that type of price tag along with it puts DNA on you to really master it, nail the systems, and give the value to those clients.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a healthy amount of pressure there. It's one thing to, start a partnership with somebody else who's, you're both going in 50-50 and we're building this from ground level. It's a whole nother thing when somebody comes to you and wants to pay you to be able to start a business, and essentially in most franchises, as an example, cash flow that business within 8 to 18 months. And in the real estate industry, as we know, it's one thing to have a practice and it's you and an agent or two and an admin or two. It's a whole different thing to get to a revenue level where you can hire a sales manager and still net at the end of the day on a monthly consistent basis, a net positive income. And that is the business world that there's a lot more pressure in that game than there is, can I sell 1 or 2 extra houses this month? Right. It's you've got fixed expenses. You guys know this well, right? You've got fixed expenses, you've got payroll, you've got rent. You're invested in the business. You want to see it come to profitability consistently, and it's a race to get there. Right.
Yeah. And I love what you're doing. And we've broken this down too, and are about ready to roll out some cool programs at RCC. But someone comes into coaching, and it's oftentimes teaching. in the beginning. Like, tell me how to do it. Right. And so we're in this dance of teaching and then consulting, and, here, I've failed this way. Maybe you don't want to do that, but it's up to you. And I just think it's so cool that you've broken it down the way that you have, because what an awesome tool to have someone like you as a coach that can come in and say, look, you need teaching right now. Or do you have a P&L? So when are you going to move from being a realtor in these conversations into running a business? Because you were saying things like revenue and expenses and things that people get into coaching, and it can take a year. Well, Craig, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've coached with clients that it took a year for them to even earn the right to start talking in depth about a P&L and an org chart and building the business out, right?
Oh yeah, so true. I mean, I grew up in real estate. My parents owned a brokerage before I was born. And I remember hiking the MLS books up and down the stairs. I remember the very first MLS books that came out. So, I had to retrain my brain, and I got a board of advisors that included business owners who had revenue of 20 million, 50 million, 100 million a year in revenue, not in volume, like we're used to in the real estate world, in revenue. So that would be like our GCI. And I had to retrain my brain to think like they would think, because they would come in on our quarterly meetings where I would have my own P&L as well as the P&L of my franchisees, and they would poke holes in it and ask questions. And the level of questions from business owners and managers at that level is it's just a shift in thinking from what we're used to in the real estate world. We kind of think of ourselves, or we're operating often sometimes mindset wise like a practitioner, like a doctor or a dentist or something like that with a small business. If you want to grow your business and have consistent profits and freedom that affords, and potentially allow that to grow as big as you can, you've got to be willing to consider a different shift in thinking. So yes, it is important that you and your agents know how to sell houses. And then at some point, I kind of viewed it, Josh, like going back to MBA school, Craig. Like, I'm going to go back and I'm going to have to go back through this whole training all over again in a new learning curve to learn how do I run a business, hold people accountable. So yeah, so we did that with existing agents or new people coming in. We had a P&L we reviewed monthly. We had everything in QuickBooks. And then the big thing there is we had to peel back the layers of revenue to really get to true profitability. And I think most agents are sometimes they just, we don't know what we don't know. They're not coached around like, hey, are you paying yourself like any other agent on your team? Right. So that's often where I would start. Or are you throwing 100% of your own commissions into, the big melting pot of your checking account and then saying I have a profit? Because the moment you stop working in your business. Yeah. What's that?
The answer is yes. For 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we would go through that. We actually set up a separate checking account. We had them go to their bank, the same bank, set up a second checking account. And then we directed the broker to pay that checking account as if they were an agent on their own team. So if their split was 70-30 or 50-50 or 60-40 or whatever, 40%, just like they'd pay any other agent on their team, would just go into that checking account. Now we had two real books, which is you as an agent and then you as a business owner. And then we actually found a third layer there, which is you as a sales manager. So if you've got a bigger team of 5, 10, 15 agents, let's say, and you're leading your team and you eventually want to hire somebody to replace yourself through leverage, you need to look at, could my business afford to pay that person in that role? And we had a 7th level team that was very profitable. And we paid that sales manager often with bonuses. It would be north of 10, 12 grand a month plus benefits.
Oh, let me peek in because not everyone came from Keller Williams at some point in their career. 7th level team is talking about at the 7th level, you basically can walk away and you've got someone running the company creating the sales and taking care of the organization. So seventh level, I don't want to say is retiring, but you don't have to be there every day.
Yeah. I probably kind of default to that. So yes, that's what that means, is that you could walk away from your business, be gone for 3 weeks or 3 months, and you've got that sales manager, that leader really in place, who's leading the team and iterating it better. So that's again, there's no judgment. Some people don't want that kind of business, as sometimes we take them through that road of discovery. Sometimes people realize they do want that business, and they need to put a lot more, pressure on the business to perform so that they could afford that person. Because sometimes when we peel back those layers of revenue, they might think, oh my gosh, look at this. I'm, net profit this month, 35,000. Well, pay yourself like an agent and pay yourself like a team leader, and you're left with, 3,000 or 5,000 in profit. And most business owners wouldn't be happy with only 3,000 or 5,000 a month in profit long term.
Well, Sean, whether they want it or not, and I love what you said. It's like, hey, it's up to them. That's the beauty. It's their business. That's what it's why we're all coaches. We coach people to run the business they want to run, to have the income that they want to achieve, to have the balance they want to have. And by the way, just side note, your seventh level worked, right? We're just talking last week and touching on this morning that you and your family, prior to the pandemic, decided to sell your house and take a year and travel the country for an entire year staying in Airbnbs. Like, that's a seventh level business. Oh, and you still sold like 400 houses. Your company still sold 400 houses while you're gone. But what you're saying is like so in alignment with Josh and I. And I'll start it at an even more basic level, and I'll get in an org chart and I'll write CEO on the top, right? You work at Keller Williams or EXP or Remax or ABC down the street. Like, the CEO gets to choose that, right? And then you go to the bottom right quadrant and you've got the listing agent. We all agree that is the most leveraged, highly profitable role in the company. Issue is most agents don't have enough listing appointments. We can help you with that. But bottom line, if you manage to show up for some, you're probably going to get 8 or more out of 10. And in a market like this, they're going to sell really quickly. Now in the middle, here's where we get really lost. That's where the administrative side, or what we call the nurse side. And this is who takes care of those listings and takes care of the touch campaign, takes care of the database, takes care of the transaction coordinating. And then of course, we've got the buyer agent side. And so I'll constantly meet agents who are like, well, I don't want to be on a team. And I'll be like, so have you turned a file on your brokerage this week? They're like, yep. I was like, have you been on a listing appointment this week? Most of them say no, but they want it to be. Have you opened a door for a buyer? Yes. And it's like, well, you're a team, right? You're wearing 4 or 5 different hats, and all you've done in your model show, not all you've done, like what's so cool is what you do in your coaching. You're just bringing that to a higher level. Then, hey, are you making flyers? Are you doing client service, which is the administrative side? And you've just brought it to a higher level, saying, well, wait, if you've got an agent on your team, then you're the sales manager. And you're in production, but you're not counting that production as a separate job. That'd be like an NFL coach being paid to be a coach, but then also going on the field and throwing some touchdowns. That would be 2 jobs at 2 different pay. And you're just breaking that up at a much higher level. And I applaud you for that.
Yeah, thanks. Well, and that's really because I had coaches and mentors and advisors in my life, consultants who really helped me question a lot of the things that I was doing, even put pressure on, Sean, what are you making per hour, right? In those different tasks, like you could go and manage the whole ops side of your business. And we had an amazing, this was spectacular, people. We had an amazing operations manager who made the whole, all of the gears turn. And often as salespeople, if you come with a sales background, sales mindset to real estate, we probably discount that by a factor of 3x. It's like if you want your equivalent in whatever that role is, in that leadership kind of role for your business, are you willing to pay that person proportionally what you would demand to be paid in your area of expertise, which just often means like top 5% talent. So it really is about who you bring into your world, who you let speak truth, interrogate your reality, get real to get right with a lot of things as a business owner, a potential business owner. Again, whether that's, under 2 million in revenue, up to, we've got, teams now in the industry approaching 10, 20, 30 million in revenue, which used to be called a brokerage. And they're doing that as a team. So I think that's very accurate. It's all about who you're letting speak truth into your life in a professional way, right? This is not like in a formal way, like where you say, here's everything. Would you please tell me what I'm missing, or ask me the tough questions that nobody else will ask me?
Well, Sean, what I appreciate about this conversation is there's one day every year that all of us get to determine whether or not we're really great real estate agents or whether we have any clue as to whether or not we're a business owner. And this year it's May 17th. Right. It's tax day. Like there is one day a year that we are forced to get called into the carpet. It's like, okay, like we've got to get our shit together. We've got to look at our P&L. We've got to look at our expenses. We've got to look at it. And it sounds like in your coaching, you're not waiting for tax day. You're helping people achieve that and achieve their goals within inside of it much earlier in the process.
So Craig, you're going to love this. We actually had developed our own software that was a forward-looking P&L. So in the real estate industry, we get faked out, right? Because the stuff you put under contract, let's say in the month of May, that's actually revenue for June and July. So in your real estate business, your revenue is already determined 30 to 60 days out. Now, of course, we can have, sooner sales and cash closings that happen in 14 days or whatever. I often just counted those as the cherry on top. Like don't pin your business on those hopes. So we would have the moment that our transaction coordinators would log an under contract, and let's say the closing date was for 35 days out. On our spreadsheet, it racked up that income, and we already knew the fixed expenses and variable expenses associated with those listings and transactions. So we were helping our agents, our agent owners, really to see, here's what your profitability looks like for next month or the next month. What are you going to do to adjust if it's not where you want it? Or if it's doing really well, if you're, kicking butt and taking names, if you're a badass, right? Hey, great. Then that's when a coach can come in and say, okay, how do we double that? Or how do we give you more time back? Or what's the next hire? And we did this for our agents too. Like we gave our agents a forward-looking revenue forecast so they could see, right? Because that now we can adjust weekly or monthly instead of, like, to your point, waiting for April 15th or equivalent.
Well, and this is not the sexy side of real estate, but this is a reality. I mean, Josh, yeah, it's like my wife and I literally every 7 to 10 days, she's my business partner in multiple companies, and she's my wife, she's my partner, is every 7 to 10 days, we look at our businesses, we look at what you just broke down, and we look at our future earning opportunities and what's in escrow. And we actually factor in about a 20% rate of things that could fall apart. And then of course, yeah, especially in this market, there's those 12 days cash closings, and we look at those as bonus when they do show up. And then we look at where we at year to date. And then the last thing we do, and this is so not sexy, I spent half of my career not doing this, and that was the half of the career that I was just a mess. Like, I hate doing this. I hate sitting down with Amory at the end of an exhausting day and the kids are in bed and we just finished lacrosse. And it's like, hey, do you want to go through financials tonight? Like, this is not something that we ever look forward to. But by doing it, we go through all of that, and then we get to make really big decisions. Hey, do we start interviewing sales managers? Do we take on that lead generation source? Do we triple this lead generation source because it's been crushing it for us the first 5 months and 10 days of this year? And that's where we're able to make that planning instead of just wildly spending in the past saying, well, this sounds really good, let's swipe our Visa, whether that was personally or professionally as well. Like, it's not the sexy stuff, but it's what truly is that bridge between great real estate agent to becoming business owner.
Well, that's what I appreciate about you, because you've done it all. You've gone from the taking a whole bunch of listings in 3 months to, owning, what was it, 6 market centers. So most of what I'm describing, the rest of the business world or franchise owners, business owners who have run a business, this is not, earth shattering what we're talking about or what we're describing. Although I would submit even a lot of business owners aren't looking probably at their P&L close enough or oft or frequently enough. At least I found that to be true with, just kind of like in real estate. But, the key there is to is to consistently develop the good habits of a business owner while still holding your real estate business accountable. And it's something that is, you're juggling, two balls at the same time there with your real estate sales. That's why you've got to nail and really get to mastery at sales. Because if you don't know the scripts forward and backward, and you can't teach and train your other people that you're going to leverage with, then you're going to always keep reverting back and getting the job back. And so to learn a whole new skill set and go through that whole new learning curve, if this makes sense, of business, you've got to be at a point where you've got stable income in your sales practice. And I've seen people jump the gun on that sometimes, where it's like, are we really at mastery at this? And if we're not, what are we going to do? Or how are we going to capitalize? Like, if you can hire other people who do that, who are better at that than you, awesome. Let's have that conversation and see.
Josh, I was with, thank you, Sean. That's amazing. And somebody that we'd love you to meet, and maybe he's listening in today, but I got to spend some time with Mr. Len Stone, who was a previous Icon interview about 4 months ago in Pacifica, California, right outside of San Fran. I may have the city incorrect. And I got to spend time with him this weekend. We're down in the Bay Area for my birthday, and we're having a barbecue, maybe or maybe not, had a couple drinks in. And Len just went on this heater, as Len does, a great heater. He's like, we all have a scoreboard. What you're talking about, Sean, is a financial scoreboard, right? That's, at the end of the day, that's what it is, because we all have a scoreboard, and everybody's scoreboard. Some of us, it's units. Some of us, it's volume. I sold 100 million. Some of us, it's material items. I've got a boat, or I've got a Jaguar. He's like, what I realized during the pandemic, because the whole topic of the evening, because we haven't seen these people in a year, spent time with them, broken bread with them, is like, what did you learn in the pandemic? And he's like, I've realized that there's only 2 scoreboards I care about, and it's all he's been focusing on per year. And one of them is net worth, right? And that ties in perfect to what you're talking. It's net worth. Like, scoreboard, like, yeah, I did 200 million, but I ended up making 400,000. That sounds horrible. Net worth is scoreboard 1 for Len, and I believe scoreboard 2 was balance. It's like, if I can triple my net worth working 12, 20 hours a week in the right activities, he's like, what? There's no other scoreboard that matters.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, I've had clients, their scoreboard was how many hours a week are they working and, in their business or on their business, and is their net income or their net worth going up by 10 to 30% per year. And especially in the outside of the real estate world, like, you get into those higher numbers of positive increase in net profitability. It's not always easy you can't always just, magically show up with 30% increase. Sometimes more of what a business owner is after at some point, after, let's say, 800,000, $1 million, the threshold is different depending on their living expenses. It's about the time to have back, or the balance, or just where they could. I know a lot of business owners like this. They're like, well, I choose to be in my business. I don't have to be, right? They like the game. They like the mountain. They like the challenge, the climb, the chase. And that's a powerful statement to make. So I love that. I mean, yeah, increase net worth, increasing cash flow, having multiple streams of income. Most people with a net worth over 5 million have at least 7 streams of income. They don't have all their eggs in one basket, and there's a progression to get there.
And that's a mic drop alone. How many agents have more than 1 stream? Vast majority of the US don't. How many have 2 streams? Maybe we're in a 10 to 20 percentile. How many are worth 5 million or more? Well, you've got the metric. It's 7.
I even forgot this. One of the reasons we had a forward-looking P&L for our teams, Craig, is we actually had team level profit share. So we had 7 levels, and it was based on who named you as your sponsor. And that was so every team owner contributed to that. And it wasn't 50% of their net income, but I think it was a graduating scale of 15 and 25 and then 30. And that went into the profit share pool. And we actually distributed profit share now this is at the team level, not if you're used to from like Keller Williams or EXP. So that was another fun thing. But yeah, I mean, I was all about that. That was part of our move to the other brokerage. Was I wanted multiple ways for my agents to make money. And if they were going to help grow my business, or whatever, I wanted a way for them to win and succeed at that, right? Why not? If you've got smart people, you want to find a way with as low a friction as possible to be in business with them. That was my take on it. If it didn't take up much of my time and energy and we could plug and play with each other, why wouldn't I want to do that? I just had to find a way to do it.
Smart. Yeah, the other group I was with that was hosting us was Juliet Coldo, one of the top agents in the world in Half Moon Bay, California this weekend. And she's recently, in the last couple of years, put profit share in her team. And she was sharing with my wife and I. She's like, Craig, it's amazing. During the holiday season, they were able to cut $10,000 and $12,000 profit share checks specifically to the administrative members of their team. And that's and she's like, what's cool, Craig, is they made us that because they drove the profitability, right? They made decisions where we should or shouldn't spend money. They found solutions where we could find a less expensive copy machine, things that in the past, as the business owner, she had to drive. But now that they're tying, like, wow, I got a 10, 20, like the more of this I save money on, the greater my bonuses at the end of the year. She's like, they're driving all of that for us now. And she goes, you give somebody a $12,000 check right before the holiday, odds are they're not going to leave your company. They're pretty vested now.
Yeah. Well, and so I love that because in my businesses, I've always been looking for, and what I noticed the smart business owners who've lived before me have done is they have found good systems that focus on attracting and retaining good people, or we would call it talent or leverage or whatever. And a system is different than just, flying by the seat of your pants and doing something. A true system like that becomes a positive flywheel in your business where it just reinforces again and again and again to the employees. As an example, are we all pulling towards the same thing? Do we have alignment? I want you to get another sale. As a business owner, I need to save money. And you don't want to, what I learned is in your business, you don't want to be the only one pulling. If you're the only one pulling for your goal, that is not fun. I've been in that situation many times. It is not a fun position to be in. It's not fun.
Exhaustion, yeah, lack of alignment with your folks. Josh, I know we're just down to a couple of minutes. What if we not asked Sean? I love the fact we've had a 33-minute business conversation. What if we not asked Sean that we should have?
Great question. Sean, I'm curious, is there anybody that you're looking for in your franchise or someone maybe that you wouldn't get into business with? I mean, that's a pretty big decision on your end there.
Yeah, well, so we've kind of leveled that up. So I actually took a step back there and decided to merge my franchise into this other brokerage.
That other brokerage is at EXP. That's where your home is
EXP,
now,
yeah.
Correct?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't push that, but yeah. So
congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks.
Your stock is worth more than mine.
It happened to be good timing, although hindsight's always 20/20. Right. I had invitations on that from 4 years ago when it was like a penny stock. So, yeah, I mean, the kind of people that we get in business with, the cool thing is, Josh, whether it's a solo agent in Northern Vermont, or we've had teams now 30, 50, 80 million, join our brokerage. I call it, that's what I call it, is just our brokerage. I have a lot of fun with those large teams. Frankly, I have just as much fun because I can remember when I was a new agent, and I've done every job in real estate from cleaning the toilets all the way on up, buyer's agent, listing agent, team owner. But I have a real passion for helping people to find this leverage in their lives, whether it's, just where they're the sales manager and they've got, solid admin and sales, or they want to level up all the way into expansion, and growth, whatever you want to call that, multiplication of your business. So I just enjoy that journey. And yes, yeah, I mean, I'm purposefully looking for and prospecting to 50, 100, $200 million teams, because they have unique skills, as you guys know. They have unique challenges. They have unique opportunities in their life that most coaching or consulting organizations aren't addressing. Like it's kind of like this black hole right now where there's just not much happening. I mean, you can talk about getting a CRM and stuff, but most of this is mindset, approach, leadership, and then some of these business level habits.
You said MBA. I mean, I love that, right? It's like we're salespeople, we're, bouncing off the walls, squirrel, squirrel, shiny object. And this is a very intentional conversation, which it's like, it's a muscle. You got to grow it. Someone comes into coaching, learning how to take a listing, and a year later, I always say you earn the right to fail at the next level. Right. And so the conversation that I can only imagine you would have with a client of 4 or 5 years is, yeah, you're going to get an MBA of net worth and some time back. Right. And
I love it. Yeah. I say, how long did it take you to be a great listing agent? How many listing appointments did you have to go on before you felt you were at mastery? So if you're learning that on net worth or, huge leverage or expansion or whatever, why would you think that learning curve would be any different?
And I think that's the
We
place
just
mark
hope
for a
it is.
consultant or coach, is remind you of that, right? You're making progress, you're doing good, and moving.
Yeah. And hey, if you don't have a coach, I'll put a little plug for coaching there. If you don't have a coach at that level, those mistakes are costly. It's one thing to miss out on a listing. It's a whole nother thing to hire the wrong sales manager and screw up your business for 8 months. Right. So try not to make those mistakes, or make those mistakes quicker with a coach who can help you through it quicker, rather than hiring the wrong person or holding on to them for too long.
It's just so I'm just so thankful that you see this and share it in the coaching world. I know Josh and I are in deep communication with you about and coaching with RCC, so that's exciting as well. But it's like Josh and I get these opportunities to teach all over the country, and often put on by title companies and lenders and even brokerage owners, and often say to us, I'm like, hey, you didn't have anybody, because he'll finish. It was a great session, like teaching moment. It's like, you don't have anybody in your company that has 100 million? Oh yeah, we have a couple of those, but we didn't invite them. It's like, well, why didn't you invite them? Well, they've got everything going for. I'm like, holy, they're the ones that probably need this the most. Yeah. And you get that because you've lived it, you are living it, you coached it, you've helped other people get to that. It's those higher producers that sometimes are actually in the most amount of pain, because they've done it through entrepreneurship at a really, really high level, and they've mixed some business in, but it's really messy for them.
Yeah, it's an exciting thing because they realize they're actually, they're depending too much on themselves, and they're probably working and trying too hard. Like we can work smarter instead of harder, and there's a simpler path to that life that they want. Most of our teams were at 19 to 28% profitability, peeling back all the revenue, sales manager or not. And, it was just very interesting to finally compare apples to apples, especially when you have more clients or people that you coach, and you can look at, like, there's a lot of ways to do this. Let's find the right path for you and be purposeful about it. And it can be done. This is not an insurmountable, like, lots of people in the business world have figured this out. We can do it. It can be done.
Yeah, I think that's the key phrase. The business world has figured it out, and our industry has a tremendous amount of opportunity in it. Because let's call it, Josh talks about this every time I talk with Josh. He's like, our industry just doesn't think of ourselves as business owners. That's what it comes down to. That's this whole conversation.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, well, they're going to think like business owners in 7 days when their taxes are due. I will guarantee you that. That'll be the one day, if they haven't, they have to.
Oh yeah, and no names, but we have a client in the past that, what was it, Craig? About $250,000 that we were able to reallocate and or save in a matter of about 45 days. And, it takes a while to get an MBA. It also takes a while as a coach to really dig into the mind, right, of the client for coaching, and then the business. And within that first 45 days, we saved somebody $250,000, and they didn't even cross their mind that it was not being used well. It's like, holy crap.
I love that, because I would often extend that out. Like, imagine if you had kept doing that thing for the next 10 years. So really the decision in front of you is something like 2.5 million. And then, as a coach, I can take that all kinds of ways. If that doesn't seem like enough to you, like, go and tell your spouse or significant other that you could have made an extra 2.5 million over the next 10 years and see what they say.
Sean, this is why you're the man. I love the fact we had a business conversation around money. I love the fact we're doing this 7 days before taxes are due. How can we help you? I know that you're in markets all over the US. We've got some folks listening that have some referrals for some of your top markets. How did they get hold of you?
Hey, thanks. Yeah. Well, I have a pretty unique name, so you can just look me up on Facebook as a good place to DM me. Of course, you can find my number on there, call or text me. That's the best way I work on relationship. And Yeah, I'm interested in, I've got a couple of other businesses. I've got a recruiting marketing agency. I've got a software business now. I've got this brokerage business. So, there's a lot of different opportunities for the right people, or ways that we might be able to leverage them or help them, or, see if there's alignment. Great. If not, I've learned, at the right time, the right people generally will find each other.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And how many, for those that can afford it, you probably charge 25,000 a month for coaching, something like that. Will you have a number in mind of the clients you'd be?
I have a spectrum. I mean, over the years, it depends on their needs, I would say, and what the opportunity is. So I like to customize that. But yeah, I mean, just so most people have a clue on this, like, I don't know, most great coaching is going to happen for less than $1 to $2 grand a month. For those who, really have a lot of opportunity, especially at the business level. I mean, I have business advisors, their coaches are $5 to $10 grand a month. Right. And we're not talking like a revamp package.
Craig and I are very aware. Oh,
yeah. I know you guys are preaching to the choir there. So
no, I'm just saying we're not we write those checks to improve ourselves. So we got it. But I love that statement. I wholeheartedly agree with it. Most great coaching was the word used, can be had at $1,000 to $2,000 a month. Also, there's be some shitty coaching at $1,000 to $2,000 a month. So pick wisely.
Yeah, very true. And at the business level, like you say, if they can save you $250,000, what is that worth?
Right.
If somebody can come in and revamp my business, where am I investing my dollars? What's going to pay off for me over the next 5 to 10 years? Most of it would probably be around people. Sometimes it'd be around systems, but it'd normally be around people, because that's the greatest, that's the greatest point of leverage and spectrum to step into as a business owner, is to find, people who are going to execute.
I think it starts with people, moves into systems for those people, with those people. And then last but not least, to complete the circle, it's retention. You spend a lot of time and energy getting these great people in, getting them trained up. To your point, how long does it take to become a great listing agent? That mastery level, I don't know, it was 100, 500, 1,000 listing appointments. For me, it was a lot. I mean, it was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds before I felt at mastery level. I'm not even sure when I knew it. It's just like, I'm there. And it was not in the first 5-7 years of my career. I'll tell you that much. Well, how much time and energy does it take to find, hire, and train, and to have amazing performance and relationship with somebody? That takes years as well. So yeah, I agree with you. It's the people, it's the systems, and then finally it's the retention, because all of that's a ton of work. All right, Sean, we're going to let you go. You are a stud. We are so grateful. Mr. Cooley, as always, you're incredible. Thank you for being here. And I hope everybody got some business thoughts, process, mindset to bring back to their companies today, because that's what we talked about. We didn't talk about how to go and get a great listing. We could have, heaven knows, with you doing 5 million in revenue last year, or GCI, we could have talked about that for hours. But I think this was a very appropriate conversation today.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, to both of you.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Cool. We appreciate you guys.
Thank you. Bye, Sean Becker.